Tonight's stories aren't just abandoned places, they're frozen investigations, lives that were interrupted, rooms sealed for reasons nobody ever explained, and the deeper you look, the more you realize these weren't places people walked away from. Something pushed them out. From a French estate locked in the moment a family shattered, to a motel room where two guests vanished, but the whispers didn't, to locations authorities still refuse to comment on. Every story in this video comes from real evidence, real photographs, and real unexplained disappearances. If you're into true mysteries and want to see the abandoned spots investigators won't walk into alone, you're in the right place. Make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because what you're about to see isn't just creepy. It's the kind of thing most people would rather pretend never happened. Now let's get into it. The story begins in France, inside an abandoned estate photographed by urban explorer Brian Sansevero. The location has never been publicly disclosed, but what was found inside has made it one of the most unsettling time capsules ever documented. The home once belonged to a middle-class French family in the late 1990s or early 2000s. The family suffered a devastating car accident. The mother survived, but the injuries and emotional trauma left her unable to return to the house. She moved out temporarily, intending to come back once she recovered, but that return never happened. For reasons that were never officially explained, the home remained exactly as it was on the day she left it. When explorers eventually entered the estate, they found the interior frozen in time. Family portraits still hung above the fireplace, untouched and slowly gathering dust. The children's bedrooms were fully intact, toys were neatly arranged, drawings were still taped to the walls, school notebooks even sat open on their desks, and tiny shoes remained lined up beside their beds. Inside drawers and on the walls, explorers discovered handwritten poems and letters, many appearing to be written by the mother during her grief. Some referenced "my lost love," and others carried the message, "I cannot return." Throughout the house, the everyday details were still in place. Crisp sheets on the bed, clothes hanging in wardrobes, dishes stacked in the kitchen. The dining table was set for a meal that never came, and the cutlery was still arranged. Even the bottles of wine were covered in dust nearby. Explorers also found family photo albums documenting vacations, birthdays, and Christmas mornings. Moments of ordinary life left exactly where they were when tragedy struck. The house wasn't cleaned out, it wasn't packed up, it wasn't even partially emptied, it was simply paused. This estate stands out because it isn't a typical abandonment. It's the physical imprint of a life interrupted at the exact moment everything changed. And from the way the home was left, it's clear the surviving mother never found the strength to return. To this day, the house remains one of the most haunting examples of a family frozen in their final moments of normalcy, raising a single lingering question: why did no one ever go back? When Willard State Hospital in New York closed its doors in 1995, crews moving through the old medical buildings discovered something no one expected: an attic filled with more than 400 suitcases. Each one belonged to a former patient, and ever since they arrived, many of them were never opened again. Willard operated for over a century, and during that time, more than 50,000 people lived and died inside its walls. Patients came in for depression, trauma, epilepsy, or grief. Some arrived voluntarily, others were committed by family or institutions. But once inside, many never left. The suitcases became the last record of who these patients were before their admission. Inside them, explorers and historians found clothing neatly folded, as if their owners expected a short stay. There were family photographs, letters, diaries stopped mid-sentence, personal items like perfume bottles, jewelry, and childhood keepsakes. Some suitcases held tools like paintbrushes, sewing kits, notebooks, and small craft supplies that hinted at the lives these people lived before they vanished vanished behind hospital doors. Many of the patients who owned the luggage died inside the asylum and were buried in the institution's cemetery under numbers instead of names. Their families were never notified, their belongings were never returned, and their stories remained sealed in that attic for decades. The discovery created one of the most haunting archives in American mental health history. The items were preserved exactly as their owners left them, offering a final, unfiltered snapshot of hundreds of lives interrupted. Today, the suitcases stand as a reminder for how easily someone's identity can disappear once they enter a system that doesn't let them leave. The belongings left behind at Willard aren't just artifacts. They're the last traces of people who expected to go back home, but never did. The location was nothing remarkable. A small roadside motel somewhere off a long stretch of American highway, the type of place travelers choose only because they ran out of a better option. Police never released the exact name, and the ownership changed hands so many times, it eventually blurred into local rumor. What's known is this: sometime in the mid-2000s, a young couple checked into room 9, and while they were checking in, they could be seen on the lobby camera. The girl was wearing a denim jacket, and the man had a baseball cap pulled low, and both of them looked exhausted. They paid cash for 2 nights, but they never checked out. When staff entered the room 3 days later, they found the bed unmade, the heater still running, and 2 coffee cups on the table. Nothing suggested a struggle, but everything suggested a sudden exit. Their suitcases were still zipped and untouched, clothes folded, toiletries lined up neatly beside the sink. Both wallets were still inside the room, IDs included. The car they'd arrived in was still in the parking lot. And then there was the notebook. It was lying on the floor at the foot of the bed. The woman's name was written on the inside of the cover. Most of the pages were empty, except for a handful of frantic, nearly illegible entries. As police described it, her handwriting deteriorated as the days went on. One of the final lines read, "I can hear someone in the walls again. He keeps whispering our names." The motel's owner later admitted he'd received multiple complaints from previous guests about noises, movement in the ceiling, tapping behind the headboards, the sense of someone shifting just out of view, but maintenance just blamed raccoons. Nobody ever followed up. What investigators found in the attic, directly above room 9, made things worse. There was a flattened sleeping bag, food wrappers, cigarette butts, and a stack of newspapers. Someone had been living up there long before the couple arrived. Someone with full access to the motel's crawl spaces. Police never located the couple. The attic resident, whoever they were, vanished too. And room 9 was quickly officially sealed off due to what they would call unresolved structural issues. Later, under new management, the door was repainted and renumbered, but longtime residents still point out which room it used to be. It's the one where the lights never seem to fully turn off, even when the curtains are closed. As the dust settles on these forgotten homes, we're left with more questions than answers. Lives paused, memories trapped, and stories abandoned to time. Each photograph, each object, each letter whispers fragments of the lives that once were, and the mysteries they left behind. If these stories unsettled you, or made you wonder what secrets might be hiding just out of sight, don't let them fade into the shadows. Make sure you subscribe and turn on post notifications so you never miss a journey into the forgotten, the hidden, and the haunting. Because out there, in the corners of abandoned places, history is waiting, and sometimes it's watching.